and I'm going to be talking about how we can monetize our skills in Google Actions. So I'm going to be taking it a little bit further back than just Alexa, but this will be pretty technical. I'm going to assume that you already have thought of your business idea and that you understand that you want to monetize your apps, and that now we'll show a little bit of development on how you can do that. So to give you some background, Voice First AI, company that I'm coming from, we are a software company on voice first products focused on Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant. We've got 32 apps that are live on the store on Google and Alexa, and the biggest product that we're pushing right now is voicedrycleaner.com, which makes it, the first proof of concept was make it so that you can say, Alexa, ask my dry cleaner to pick up my laundry. Show up at your house, they take your laundry, they go do it. We just added on a new feature that we rolled out yesterday so that customers, specifically for the auto case, can say, Alexa, let my cleaner know I'm on my way. That way, if you've got stuff at the cleaners, they can have it hanging up for you, they can already charge your card. It just saves you some time, especially with cleaners that do have the drive-through, so they've got everything ready and they're prepared for you to come. Cool. So this is the problem that we're going to be talking about today. Voice is very exciting. We're all here because we like voice in some capacity, but how do we profit from it? We haven't seen the Uber of voice, we haven't seen the PayPal of voice, we haven't seen any major things besides music and weather, which are built into Amazon Alexa. So how do we monetize it? Again, we're going to keep this technical. We're not really going to focus on how to come up with the business use case, but let's say you got a local pizza shop and you want to start selling pizzas using Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant. We're going to talk about that here today with Jovo. I think that's my next slide. Okay, so talking about originally. When you're building natively for the platforms, let's take the case of surveys by voice. Paul built out the entire Alexa skill, he had it released, and then at the Alexa conference, they said works with Alexa, works with Google. And then I guess now it works on Google, but it took a long time to replicate that code base, to migrate it over to the Google Assistant platform, and then to publish it live for everybody to be able to use. Jovo relieves that error, it relieves that pain point by putting a wrapper around both of the platforms in one single Node.js framework so that you can build out one single code base. You hit Jovo deploy, it'll automatically update your Lambda skill, it'll update your Alexa skill, it'll update your Google action, connect it all, and then you can even deploy it all from the command line. So you can monetize. They've added in every feature that you can do natively. With the recent update of Jovo version 2.2 last month, they made it so that all features are supported. Anything that you can do on Alexa, you can do on Jovo. Anything that you can do specifically natively on Google, you can do on Jovo. So sometimes with cross-platform frameworks like React Native for mobile developers, if you one single code base for JavaScript builds out iOS and Android, the problem sometimes is that you'll find some features on one platform like iOS that the React Native won't handle, and it will be supported on Android, so there's some inability to communicate across those platforms. But with Jovo, with this new update, they have all of the features on both platforms. So you're not losing any capabilities by going with Jovo. You're only getting an increase in your ability to build and your ability to deploy the product. And again, Jovo, just like everything multimodal, so you've got builders for your screens, you've got builders to insert MP3s like Jeff was showing. You can insert little MP3 clips from an S3 bucket or from some other locally or cloud-hosted service. And then you can insert MP3 files, video files, you can use all the templates, the APL, Alexa presentation language, any feature you can use. It'll build it out for both platforms. Cool, so here's an example of monetization of an Alexa skill natively. And this is only one part of it. This is just the buy part. When you're charging with in-skill purchases with Alexa, you have kind of 3 steps. You first check if they already have bought the product. If they haven't bought the product, then you want to get their information, their card information, and present to them the purchase. And then this is the last part, that actual buy the transaction step. It's got 28 steps, or 28 lines of code in here. And personally, it looks like a lot. You've got some stuff in here like handler input, .request envelope, whatever a request envelope is, .request.type equals intent request. Like what does that mean? Handler input, .request envelope, .request.intent. All right, lots of stuff. What is a service client factory.get monetization service client? Just some big words that can, once you understand and you get up to speed, it makes sense, but for fresh eyes, it looks kind of confusing. Here's the same part, the third step, the buy with Jovo. Now this only has 16 lines, and you can kind of read it, I think, a little bit more like a book. We're going to get a reference to the product by getting the inputs, the ID of the product name, this .alexa skill, because you differentiate if you want to make some responses specific to Alexa and Google, just throw this $Alexa in front, or this $Google, so you can differentiate and make them specific for the use cases. If in some of your responses you say, hi, I'm Alexa, you can change it for Google and do this $Google, and then say, hi, I'm Google. Just make it a little bit, you can differentiate it for the platform. We get the reference name of the product, we tell them you've already bought it, if they have already bought it, and if they haven't, then we charge them with the in-skill purchase. Out of curiosity, any preferences on one or the other? The Alexa or the Google? Has anyone built in-skill purchase? What do you build native or do you build?
Native.
Cool. So
I have my own framework, so and I'm working with Lambda layers and stuff, so I've offloaded a lot of that now to Lambda layers, but I've got some of that stuff stored in the layers so I can reuse it. So
okay.
It's easy.
So did you build your own little wrappers around it?
Kind of, yeah.
And it just makes it easier for you? Reduces that code block something a little easier. Okay, so to go back, Jovo monetization. This was added in about, they had Alexa in-skill purchases in for a while, but they just added in Google transactions. So all that you do to access those transactions, this $Google action, $transaction, or for Alexa, it's called in-skill purchases. So you can actually add it using the command line. I personally, very heavily developer background, so I like to do as much from the command line as I can, building the apps, deploying the apps, publishing them for certification, and then we put all that into our pipeline so we can have automated deployments. As soon as we make a change, unit tests are run in the background in the cloud. It then publishes to our development environment. We test on a device, click a button, it deploys to our production environment, certifies all the apps automatically. So you just run that little command, ask add ISP, and then it'll build right into your Jovo project the in-skill purchases. And for Google transactions, you don't have to build in that step, but this is kind of showing you how the Jovo framework will take files that are coming from the command line, or if you run Jovo build, it'll take your language model, and then it'll build it for the specific platforms, whether that's for the Alexa skill or for the Google action. You have the main platform that is the shared experience of voice, and then you can build out those separate experiences on Google Actions and Amazon Alexa. Cool, so now jumping into Google Action. This is kind of heavier for Google Action than Amazon Alexa. So this is the first step you gotta do. You check for their payment info. You say, I'm using Stripe as my payment method. This is the Stripe version that I'm using. This is the key for my Stripe account. And then you're gonna present the order to the client. I'm gonna kind of show this, there's a lot of code. I'll show you a demo in a couple steps of it working live in action in one of our apps. Put all that package info in there, and then you give a tell at the end of further action is required if they don't have it set up. That was an issue we were facing for a while. With Google, let me kind of explain this if-else statement. So if this .Google action .transaction is requirement check okay, if the check is okay, we're going to go ahead and present that purchase to them. If they have not added or linked any credit card info to their Google Pay account, it's going to say initially further action is required. When we initially published that to Google, they were like, that doesn't make much sense. Why would you say further action is required? It doesn't help the customer out. So now we've since changed that to say, you don't have any Google Pay action information saved, so please go to the Google Home app, add in your payment info, and then come back. We'll have all of your order details saved. You just got to go add in your credit card info. So that's that check. After we check that they have all the requirements, we create the transaction and give them the ability to make that decision. It's kind of the same on both platforms. Get the info, make sure that they have a credit card on file. Then we present the item to them, and then finally we charge them. So the second step, we create the order, we look up the purchase item, we give a visible order ID to them, and then we change it to an ISO string. Oh, here's the demo, cool. So this was what I recorded about 10 minutes before I left my house. I could find some way to download a screen recorder on Android. So this is the product that I was talking about, voicestrikecleaner.com. Any Android device, you just open it up, and you say voicestrikecleaner.com, or just voicestrikecleaner. Because I've already used the app, it has all of my order details already saved. I can leave a special note if I want to let the driver know, hey, I've got a barbecue stain on my left shirt pocket, or I left my clothes out back. Confirms all my order details. Yeah, it's all correct, so I confirm. And then we have the first step. It checks the requirements, and if the requirements are met, it presents the receipt to me before, and so that I can confirm the order. I make sure that my credit card details are right, everything's correct. I hit place order, and then it wants me to type in my password, which for me is a fingerprint. So after I put in my fingerprint, it verifies the purchase, and there's the order being created. And then we just one more time confirm it, and after that, the order is placed. I got a text message when that happened. We sent an SMS notification, we sent an email notification, and now we've been plugging into Dry Cleaner's point of sale system, or POS, so that way we can send the orders directly via API call to their back-end systems that they're already using, so that they don't have to go out of their way to get the text message or to get the email. It's just built the same way that their mobile app's already built, their phone systems are routed. We're meeting them where they are rather than having them try to conform to Alexa. We really want to make it as easy as possible so that businesses that already have the platforms that they like, they already have the systems and apps that they like, just have Alexa be a piece that plugs into all that already, so that we can just, you want to make the barrier to entry as low as possible. Everybody should be on voice. It's a new way to interact with technology. But the hurdle can sometimes be too much for people to want to overcome. So going from there, these are some tutorials. I've got some bit.ly links. I'm not sure if you guys can read them. Some tutorials, whether you use JavaScript or TypeScript for both Google Actions and Amazon Alexa's in-skill purchasing. These are tutorials that will show you how to set up transactions inside of your app, so that one single code base builds out both your Google Action and your Alexa skill. And finally, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them now. Otherwise, there's a Slack channel for Jovo. You can email us or follow us on social media. We post a lot about voice, both Google Actions and Amazon Alexa. And yeah, questions?
So who does Jovo?
Great question. So Jovo is based out of Germany. A guy named Jan Koenig founded it. We've had him on our podcast a couple times. We're very active with Jan because I feel like we press the limits of what the platform can do more than a lot of other development teams. So they have us do forum posts, they have us do YouTube videos, they have us do, we get on calls with them and give them feedback on how we're interacting with the platform. It's an open source framework based out of Germany, and very easy to get started with. Very easy to get up and running with. They've been around since 2016. Late 2016 was when they started to come out. And at first it was a very, very slow start. People saw them. I remember Paul looked at them before I did. And Paul was like, okay, they don't have all of the features. You can't use some of the features that you can get with the regular Alexa Skills Kit. Can't use that in Jovo. So he stayed away from it because the framework lacked it. Very recently, they've expanded their team. We're trying to get a couple of the guys that work with us for their internship to go out to Germany and help the Jovo team. And now they just build so fast now. Anytime, I'm in their Slack channel all the time. If you join that, you'll probably see a bunch of messages from me. And it's always feature requests, like, can we do this? Can we do this? They just added in an Airtable integration. So if you use Airtable, you can, instead of having your responses from Alexa stored inside of the app code, if you are building an app for a non-technical person like another company, you can store all of the responses in Airtable, and then that non-technical business owner can go in there, say, okay, Alexa, I don't like how that sounds anymore, so we're gonna change the string to this. They don't need to know anything about code. They just change the response, and then the Jovo framework takes that and updates the app right away. No experience necessary. We use the Google Sheets CMS integration. So we have a Google Sheets that has all of our responses from Amazon Alexa and Google. And then as soon as we change that in Google Sheets, it updates our Alexa, it updates our Google, and it makes it easy. We're trying to do what Surveys by Voice is doing right now, which give the dry cleaner the ability to put their own MP3 files into their Alexa skill. It's their own branded Alexa skill. What if the business owner was talking to the customer? It's going to be more engaging, more empathetic. There's more emotion that's conveyed with a normal, like my voice. I'm conveying a lot of emotion with how I'm raising and lowering my pitch, the speed of my delivery, the tone, etc. But I think a business owner will be able to connect with their own customers better with that. Straight away from the question. So Jovo, I think it's a good framework. They build things really fast. They're very receptive to feedback, and so far it's been a very welcoming community.
Define very responsive. A day, a week?
Less than 2 hours. Anytime I post in the help chat, I'm also in the Alexa Slack channel. And that one I haven't gotten as much. It feels like a lot of people want to be in there, but less people want to actually interact with the community. But Jan himself, the founder of the company, is always looking through the help channel. Within 2 hours, he'll have a response for you. Whether you're just like, you're trying your first app, you don't know how to run the webhook locally, or you can't figure out how to deploy it, he is very responsive, and he will talk with anybody, which is great.
Why do you think we haven't had greater adoption of text and voice?
Text and voice.
Yes, both.
Can you elaborate the text part?
In your app, you showed the user interacting by presumably either typing in text or using his voice to read text. You know, that's a mode of UE that Facebook was promoting in 2016, but it kind of died down, and now we're going with voice, but voice is very similar to text. And we haven't seen it got to the level of potentially replacing normal UEs yet, but that's obviously the hope. So why do you think those two things haven't replaced normal UEs?
One of the biggest reasons, I think, is the slight friction that it still has. It's an AI, but it's still a very young AI, both the Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant. So if you don't sound like a generic American, if you have any sort of accent, it can get difficult for it to understand you. And as soon as it doesn't understand you, there's that friction, and you're going to leave and be like, well, Alexa didn't understand me, I'm off. I do think, though, like you brought up, the ability to type in chatbots are a cool way that voice is getting bigger momentum. Jovo, in addition to supporting Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa, in Dialogflow, there's a bunch of integrations like Slack, Facebook Messenger, the actual ability to use Alexa skills. So now, 2 weeks ago, they released Slack integration in Facebook Messenger. So now, in addition to building one JavaScript code base, you got Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, Slack chatbot, and Facebook Messenger chatbot.
This is Jovo.
This is Jovo. So it's all the same. It's all just, okay, I input a string, and then I get back a response, which is also a string. Whether it's delivered via the Google Assistant's voice, whether it's delivered in a Facebook Messenger chat, whether it's delivered by Amazon Alexa's voice, it's all chatbot. It's all, I'm a user, I have an intention, I only know how to express that intention with the words I speak. I express it, how does your app respond? Rather than, it's the first time in history that technology is having to adapt to consumers, rather than consumers having to figure out, I move the mouse up, the mouse on the screen moves up. I pinch the screen, it zooms out. I just say, pick the second option, and then voice knows, okay, I'm gonna grab the second one, give it to that dude, and call it a day.
You know, some people think that another source of friction is lack of conversational ability. What do you think about that?
I've been watching the Alexa Prize videos recently, which is a competition for universities, I think in the US, maybe it's around the world, to build that conversational AI. It's surprising because we didn't enter our team, and I thought the other teams were going to be really top-notch stuff. But listening to those videos, if you watch them, look up Alexa Prize and look up some of those videos, it's very rudimentary. The skills that Stanford University, MIT, the top computer science schools, they're still having trouble figuring out, okay, how do we respond to everything? Whether they want to talk about sports or news or the thing that happened 5 minutes ago that they saw on Twitter, how to include context. I think context is going to get bigger of where are you located? How do I shape the responses based off of where you're located? The fact that you are talking to me after looking at Twitter, the fact that I know the tweet that you just saw, I know the email that you just received, and the notification that just came down, and based off of that, I know where you're coming from when you are asking this question. Context is getting, I think, really big, and it helps to create very personalized experiences. I think that is what's going to help us overcome this lack of conversation, is the ability for Alexa to have more context. I think it's limited right now, but context is getting bigger.
I think another big thing is really discoverability. That's a huge thing. Everybody has the devices, but nobody knows what you can do with them. There's not an avenue that, oh wow, there are really cool things out there for that. They just don't know it. If they find out about those cool skills and they start interacting, and then they start doing more with those devices, but I think that discoverability and context are huge things.
Yes.
Not being more prevalent.
And that's another reason to include monetization. If you want your app, your Alexa skill to be featured on the front page of Amazon.com in the Alexa skills section, you have to have monetization. You have to have feedback it has to be clearly expressed what your monetization is doing. But how they promote the skills on the front page, what's new, what's hot, what's the top apps, is heavily based around whether or not you're monetizing. So if you're not monetizing your skill, there's no way for you to be on the front page of Amazon.com. And being so new, being the first people on there, being on the top of the charts is going to be really important towards getting that first traction, getting your discoverability out there so that way people are starting, when they're talking to their friends about Alexa, they're going to talk about your experience out of anybody else's.
So, for a non-technical person, an app like Jovo, is that an app?
It's a framework.
Okay. It is doing what for you?
As a business owner, or for me as a developer?
As a business owner.
As a business owner, you're reducing the amount of money that you have to spend on development time. Rather than paying either one developer who knows Alexa and one developer who knows Google to build both of those out. If your app takes 40 hours to make, it's going to take 80 because you got to build it out for both. If you find one Jovo developer who spends 40 hours building the one app, hits Jovo deploy Google action, and now he has the total counterpart app for Google. So you just cut the amount of investment you needed to get your business off the ground in half.
Same problem with mobile apps. Back in the day, sort of works with a job.
Yeah, you had like iOS specific developers and
Yeah.
Android
Right.
specific developers, and they hated each other.
Right.
And then there were React Native developers, and both of them hated React Native developers. I think that's Jovo right now.
Yeah.
Two questions. Number one, are Google and Amazon both taking a cut from the dry cleaners every time you build something?
Good question. Right now we're not charging. So if you saw in there, we're charging $0.00.
Right.
We're just putting it in place so that way we can start thinking about it. Amazon will take out, if we use Amazon Pay, they will take out, I actually don't know the number, but they will take out a cut of, what is it?
30%. Same as Apple.
Okay, they're gonna take out 30%. And with Google Pay does not take anything out. I do think that Stripe, though, our manager, does take a little bit out.
Okay, second question. For someone who, and you may have answered this because you're only charging $0, someone had things on account where they don't pay right then and there, where at the end of the month, whatever your dry cleaner has done, just send them an invoice.
Yes. On Google, we can, because we're using Stripe, Google Pay integrates whatever payment processor you want. So we can complete that transaction, but then on our back end, just hold on to that payment info and not actually charge them until the end of the month. With the Alexa skills, I do think you have to charge right then because you integrate with Amazon Pay, and then Amazon Pay has to charge them right then. That's a good question. I didn't think about having them charge, but then not actually charging their card until a later point to like batch it
Something they want to
together.
send you a check or do a, bank
Whatever it
transfer or
is.
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do a lot of advanced APL work. How does that work with Jovo? I haven't tried it.
Yes, they have have you used the authoring tool? So the authoring tool, you have got that little web GUI, you can see what it looks like, and then it has your JSON down below that you can just copy and paste and put into your Alexa skill. You copy and paste that same JSON, put it into your Jovo app, and then your APL docs are right there. It's the same JSON.
Now, will that render on Google Home?
No. So we had to figure that one out the hard way. When we tried to publish without putting in a filter, it was like, hey, you got some invalid responses.
Okay.
They have this, they have a call, this dot is Amazon Alexa, or this dot is Alexa skill. So we just have an if statement when we do APL, and we say if this dot is Alexa skill, run the APL. If it's Google, so else, they use the cards. So with the cards, we can give them, it's much more basic on Google. The APL is great.
That's what I was trying to figure out because I use advanced. Hey, you missed it last time. I have a Rubik's Cube deal that you tell the colors of it visually builds a Rubik's Cube up on the screen.
No way.
Tells you how
Yeah, well, it's incredible.
I saw your menu one last time. That one was really cool.
What's
Like,
that?
your menu one?
Yeah.
That one was like, whoa! I haven't seen
His
any
Rubik's
Alexa skill
Cube
that
is
has
over
the
the
level of
top.
APL that your menu one had. So the Rubik's Cube
This
has
is way beyond.
It's over the top good.
okay.
Super impressive.
Really.
Yep.
How have you been learning? Has it just been in experimentation, or has there been
Yeah.
somewhere that you've
So I
gone?
challenge myself every month. I write a new app or something using the latest features or whatnot. So
Yeah.
this month is the dynamic entities.
Yes.
So
And that was the Rubik's.
Rubik's was last month.
What are you doing for Dynamic?
Dynamics is more with my day job, which is the healthcare industry, and we're actually built on Dynamic CRM, so we're doing Dynamic CRM integration. But we're doing dynamic entities, so we have hospitals and we have buildings and rooms and stuff like that. So we're storing those and then updating those in the code so that they can be slots